Welcome to an All Over the Road special edition, an interview with the pharmacist, Dan Schneider. From the Coin Trader Studios in New Orleans, Louisiana, here's Victor DelGiorno with The Calling. The latest Netflix docuseries, The Pharmacist, begins with a tragic 1999 murder that sparks a father's search for justice and clarity. During the collective 4 episodes, however, the focus shifts to the subject's personal war against a doctor who essentially created an opioid epidemic throughout the New Orleans area and beyond. Overall, The Pharmacist sheds light on Dan Schneider's up and down journey that nearly led to a complete mental breakdown. Dan Schneider may be a pharmacist by profession, but he is a true hero by the actions and the sheer diligence in which he fights all odds, not only for the loss of his son's life, but for the numerous young lives around him that he sees being destroyed by a single pill. Dan, welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Glad
Annie,
to be on.
Annie, you too.
Thank you for having us.
You're going to be great. You got a great radio voice. You really do. Dan, are you familiar with a meme? You know what a meme is?
Yes, I know what a meme is.
Okay, well, there was an interesting meme that I got. What's that noise?
I think somebody's phone's ringing. That's all right.
Silence all devices, please. This is a meme that I picked up off the internet.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's beautiful. And
Yes.
this is what it says, Dan. This is from Nola Girl.
Right.
Okay, have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, if I ever get murdered, please don't call the police. Call Mr. Danny from The Pharmacist.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
If you got a problem, I'll solve it.
I saw it too, but let me just tell you something. That one is, I guess, a meme, comical. I've actually had serious people present cases to me that they asked me to delve into.
I was going to ask you that.
Yes.
Have you been approached to do just strictly private investigating?
Yes, there's a few instances where I haven't, and that's not really where I want to go.
No.
But I did point them in a certain direction. I tried to give them some direction to go in, but Crosby, I mean, I had a passion for this investigation, but I don't think I could have that kind of passion for everybody's investigation. I'm not really that good. Mm-hmm. I was only good because I worked in my mind 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
Totally driven, totally focused. Didn't care if I was dead. Nothing. Just Katie bought a door. Yeah, I mean, go for it, So
Here's the thing I was impressed with. I mean, I was telling Annie on the way into the studio, I was telling her, if NBC, ABC, or CBS would have done this, they'd have completely botched it. They'd have told the story and make you think, well, what's going on here? And they'd take you around the mulberry bush 50 times. They did a great job on this. And then when they were getting ready to do this docuseries, when did the idea come up? Hey, let's use these recordings, your recordings.
Well, I think early on it came up when they found out I had them. I mean, in fact, I've been told, I didn't really view it that way at first, but I've been told that it's kind of like a documentary, and if that's what they called, it's kind of like his dream case. I mean, to actually have videos in real time as to what was going on 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, they must have been thinking jackpot.
Yeah,
Oh,
chronologically, you had everything.
They definitely thought jackpot.
Yeah. Wow.
And it actually has made the thing extra special.
Yeah, and there is even a part in one of your recordings. I think you're talking to the FBI or somebody, and they go, "Are you recording this?" And you go, "No."
That's very true.
No.
That's true.
It's kind of cute, because we were recording the whole thing.
Yeah, I caught that. You're supposed to tell someone you're recording it, by the way, but that's okay. That's okay. When did Netflix contact you at first, and what were your thoughts when they did? I mean, did it come out of left field, or?
Well, actually, it wasn't directly Netflix.
Okay.
What actually happened is I kind of had retired at 65, finally toned down my advocacy because my wife said, why don't you just bail out of this thing? I mean, we had made some progress, but not a lot. And I mean, we really had done a lot, but we didn't have much recognition and felt like we were spinning our wheels. So had my first grandchild, so we kind of shut it down. And then a gentleman named Jed Lipinski was the health reporter at the Times-Picayune.
Right.
And he dug into this opiate crisis, and he discovered that I was at the center of it, and I was the guy that actually did some battles and did some great things. So basically, he wrote, I think, about an 8-page story in the Times-Picayune. It was Justice for Danny. You can still go on NOLA.com and get that. And then it came out. It was really smash hit in the New Orleans area, but it went a little bit beyond that. and a group called Cinemart, Cinemart.
Right.
And producers was, I think, Julia and Jennifer Hurst and Julia Nasson, and a guy named, Mike Gasparo, okay. In any event, they said we'd like to do the story. And I had 3 different approaches. I had one from California, I had one from the Cinemart group, and then I had one from some Indian tribe that does movies. Well, I chose the one in New York because they hired Jed Lipinski, the guy that wrote the story. Okay, so then all of a sudden they were going to create a sizzle reel, and basically they were going to try to sell the story, okay, to some network or some entity of some type. And eventually it got to Netflix. Netflix, I was told, had like about 65 different opiate stories. They were looking for an opiate story. And when they saw it, out of 65, it was chosen, obviously. Okay, but the reason why they chose it, because most of them were like scientific, and they didn't have this element of a father trying to, change the world, you might say, trying to really save some things. And they just saw something special in it. And obviously, it's been tremendously successful.
Well, they've already been affected by the business when you say the word sizzle reel.
That's correct.
That's something you never said when you were a pharmacist. Hey, let's go get a sizzle reel.
Right.
You
Never
said
heard
that.
of it.
It meant something different.
In fact, if you go online, I don't know what Google it is, but if you go online, you can actually see that original sizzle reel that they produced. It's pretty good. It's about a 10-minute movie. Okay, and actually, it's pretty good. It's just as good as the docuseries just about.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Do you know why they call it a sizzle reel, huh?
Well, I mean, it sparks interest, I guess.
It's because you sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
Heard
why.
that.
Okay, so this happens, all right? You're talking to these people, and then you go to Annie. You say, Annie, these people are calling me, blah, blah. Annie, what was your impression of it?
Not again. Can we just be retired and live a normal life? That's all I really wanted. I still had my daughter,
Got the grandkids.
the grandkids and everything. That
I'm a good salesman. I'm
Yeah,
a real good
he
salesman,
is.
and I'm determined. But she always comes along. The initial response is no, okay. But then after I show the magnitude of what we're trying to accomplish, she comes along. She's always there.
Our sponsor is Coin Trader Inc. They're looking for a few good salesmen in case you want to go back to work.
All right.
Now the chase scene, okay, when you're freaking out, okay. At that point, I know you were freaking out, and then Annie was freaking out, like, hey, just come home. At that point, though, was there a little party that was thinking, hey, man, I think I'm on to something?
Oh, most definitely. You're referring, I think, to the FBI situation.
Yeah.
That was a crazy situation. I to this day don't exactly know what was going on there, but I had arranged an appointment to meet with one of the top guys at the FBI, and so I scheduled the appointment for like maybe 9 o'clock in the morning. So I got up and I headed to the FBI headquarters. And at first I had set the appointment. The guy said, look, when you get to the gate, you got to show them your ID, tell them that you're supposed to meet me, and they'll let you in pretty quick. Well, when I got out there, I parked and I started making the phone call, but then I started seeing behind me, I'm going to call it Cleggett's goons. They had chased me before. So all of a sudden, Cleggett's goons show up. And for the life of me, it looked like they were waving a gun. It might have been a hand, or it could have been a cell phone, but I thought it was a gun, and it could have been a gun, okay? And I'm talking to this FBI guy, and it's kind of like he's saying, he's not making it fast, and I'm saying, well, look, I got people out here. And he goes, oh, come on, Mr. Schneider. What do you mean you got people out there? I mean, who's chasing you? So all of a sudden, I get this feeling that, how did these people know I was coming here?
Right.
And so I started thinking, really, this guy might be dirtier, okay? Now, much later on, I did get, there is another option. Cleggett's goons may have been following me and didn't even know where I was going. But at that moment, I associated this guy with that. And by the way, it could still be the case. But then, so I kind of lost it, I felt danger. I didn't know who to trust. Believe it or not, I took off in my car. I left the gate, went and rode into UNO's parking lot, okay, for safety. And these people were kind of circling the parking lot. So I called and said, look, I'm going to come back in, but I got to get in quick. And I don't want to talk to that guy that I was talking to. Okay, I don't trust him.
Gotcha.
Well, sure enough, they said, come on back. And I came back and they were basically chasing me to the FBI headquarters. Okay. And I did get into the gate pretty quick. And when I get into the FBI building, the guy that I didn't want to talk to is the guy.
Is this the building on the lakefront?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Lee and C. Simon Bridge
yeah.
is nearby. And I know, it was like surreal, and it was like I couldn't figure out what was going on. Okay. And so, I felt there was a loser because it's almost I couldn't really believe what was going on almost. Or when you're thinking about this guy, he's dirty, and I don't know if he was or not, but I felt that way. And I'm saying, what am I into? So I was kind of going crazy. I don't know what else to call it. I mean, I think it was justifiable paranoia or fear. But,
I think God had his hand on you. I think he was definitely protecting you.
No, God's all over this thing.
Yeah, glad you said that. Now there's a part in the docuseries that where Annie's like going, "Hey man, let it go. Let's just and it seemed to me there was some problems being at home.
Yeah,
with this.
Right. Well, that excuse me. That gets back to the murder now. Because it's kind of like two stories. The other one was the doctor and FBI. This is the murder, and I was going in and out of the Ninth Ward, and she would always be fearful and was kind of asking me to stop. And then I'd talk to her and tell her what was going on, and I was kind of watching out a little bit. And I'd kind of convince her, but then she talked to one of her girlfriends who said, "Man, you got to stop Danny. You got to stop Danny." So it was really the outside circle that I had to keep working with. Okay?
What were you thinking, Annie? Were you thinking about was there ever a thought in your mind, "Hey, look, I got to put my foot down on this"?
Yes, I just thought that he might get killed.
Right.
My son had already got killed, and he might get killed when he was looking for Danny's killer. Right. And my sister-in-law and my good friends would call up and say, "You have to stop him from going into the Ninth Ward because he's just, out of it right now. He needs to just settle down, And I'd try to talk to him, and sometimes we get into fights about it. And
sure, yeah.
And my daughter would hear him on the phone with the police and different other people he was trying to talk to help him, and it was like it was hurting the family, the whole family.
Right. Let's go back a little bit, okay? There's the picture. Those of you looking on YouTube, that's Danny. And then there's, of course, Annie's the wife. We all know Dan. And then Christy is the daughter, who I believe, if not for Christy, TT would have never flipped.
That's what she says. There was a lot of pressures, different pressures on her. But the bottom line, at the very end, she does say that the girl that became a witness had lost two brothers. Okay, one was killed by a cop, which she claims and may have been a bad shoot. Mm-hmm. And there were witnesses, and nobody would come forward against the cop, obviously. And the cops wouldn't come against the cops. That's her version, but she felt that way. And then she had a brother that was just killed on the street, okay? And a lot of people knew who killed him, and they wouldn't come forward. So she had hurt from that. And that had a lot to do with it. Then toward the end, when we were kind of almost losing her a little bit, because she went up and down. She was going to come forward, then wasn't going to come forward. And I started really bearing down on and chasing her, and she got aggravated with that. Mm-hmm. And then finally she talked to my daughter, and my daughter was crying and whatnot. And she just related to my daughter, and she says that's what really pushed her over the edge.
It was a very moving part of the docuseries.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Christy's part in it.
Yeah, and it's ironic because Christy, and again, Christy too at times was still supportive, but most of the time she would rather be not doing this. Okay, but
she loves her dad.
Yeah, exactly. But it's neat now that she actually sort of made this happen in a way. Yeah, and if you think about it, I can tell you this: if that witness would not have come forward, and I would not gotten my son's killer off the street, my bargain with God would have been broken. Mm-hmm. Okay, the bargain with God was, okay, help me get his killer off the street. I not get killed, my witness not get killed, and I'll do it the right way, but protect us. Okay, and if you do that, I'm going to go on a mission for you. And so in essence, if that wouldn't have happened, it was not even just about God. I'd have been a broken man if I could not have solved it, especially after I knew who was the killer. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so after that, I was inspired by the witness. And I started saying, if she can do that, her life on the line, some of the stuff that I actually did was not really quite close as dangerous as what she did. She was in a neighborhood that, God, they wanted to kill you. So, right. Of course, maybe the FBI was going to kill me. I don't know, but probably not. So that's the story. She motivated me, and my daughter had something to do with it, and that's why we're here.
Grief is a horrible thing, and I can't. I look at the picture now, and I'm glad it's facing the other way, because I can't even look at the picture and it's not my child. I can only imagine what it is. It's the most extreme, excruciating grief you could have, and I can imagine as you're going through this, Dan and Annie, was there ever a time you said, you know what? And this is after you caught Jeffrey. Jeffrey's caught. He's in jail. Right. You think, you know what? I'm pursuing this doctor, this dirty doctor, and then we're going to go after a pharmaceutical company. Did you ever stop and think, oh, wait a minute. I don't want Jeffrey to get lost in all this. Has he become a sidebar to this? Did that ever cross your mind?
Well, no, I hate to say it. I don't really think so. I mean, we had to kind of let that go for a while. After he was in jail for 10 years and after I solved the doctor and started working at Purdue, we finally got to visit him in jail. And the first thing the kid said to me was, thank you for saving my life. And he seemed really remorseful. He was very apologetic, okay? Wish it wouldn't have happened. And so the deal about saving his life is he knew that all of his friends that remained on the street, the 10 years he was in jail, they were dead. I knew they were dead too, because I knew his friends well. And then the other thing is, I had an opportunity along the line to actually have him killed.
Wow.
And it kind of crossed my mind, but way back when my son was about 4 years before he died, at his high school was Hannon, he wrote a poem titled 12:01 a.m. and it talked about the death penalty. He was totally against the death penalty. So we decided early on that if we could get a conviction and it could possibly have the death penalty, we wasn't going to do it. And I also operated, that was kind of the bargain with God too, that I shouldn't even kill the killer, okay? And so what I told Jeffrey was, I said, Jeffrey, he says, thank you, Mr. Danny, for saving my life. And I said, it wasn't me, it's my son.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you forgiven him?
Well, I was pretty close. I was pretty close. I was working on it. I don't hate him like I once did. And, I really do believe sort of I forgave him. And I kind of wished him the best. And that's mainly because my son just was a real soft-headed, tolerant guy. He always mediated, disputes and stuff like that. And I kind of thought that he would think, this kid was underprivileged and such. And in the chaos of that night, it seems like he thought Danny was going to do something to him, which wasn't the case, but he was confused. And so I think Danny would have said, hey, look, I hope he has a good life. And I tried to do that. And then my relationship with God says you're supposed to do that. I worked on it, but let me tell you, he's been rearrested now. Okay. And so now, even though the forgiveness is there, all of a sudden now,
hey, not a murder charge.
No, not a murder charge. No, but he was found with a gun and he had drugs on him. So he's a convicted felon with a gun. He could have got 10 years. He wound up getting 5. Wow. So then all of a sudden, whatever forgiveness you had kind of changes a little bit. Like, he had his chance.
One of the questions I considered asking was in the beginning of the interview, Annie, was for you guys to tell us about Dan. Tell us a little bit about Danny. I decided not to, because I think as we go through this, and just the way you answered the last question, Dan, we're getting a pretty good idea, about Danny. His compassion, the fact that he was, the
soft-spoken, and he had a lot of friends, and never did have any fights or anything, and just had good times. And all the kids would come by my house, and it play pool and do things together, and it was just their place to go, the big and that.
He had a great head of hair too. Can I say that? He had a great head of hair.
Hey, he was a good-looking kid too.
He sure was.
Much better looking than his dad. He was a lady killer. He was a little bit shy with the ladies.
Right.
They chased him. I didn't have that problem.
I hope you're okay with me saying this, but all the looks come from Annie, okay?
I will agree.
Let's go to a sore subject, but what's your impression of Dr. Cleggett, and how do you feel about her never spending a day in jail after there was 37 charges against her?
Well, my impression was really she was a monster. Okay, and in fact, it didn't come out in the docuseries, and I'd like to kind of tell this little story.
Please.
You know, we had a little friction in the drugstore with me and my boss, which, by the way, he was a good guy. Okay, you know,
Claude.
Claude.
Yeah.
He did less. He tolerated me quite a bit. Okay, no other boss would have tolerated me. Okay? And he kind of gets a bad deal on this because it was hurting his business, and they were going down the street, and most of the pharmacists down there was doing less than he was doing to stop because he turned some down too. Okay, and he was mainly aggravated with me with investigating people. Okay, so I left for a while. Okay, because I wanted to go full time onto it, and I just knew I couldn't do what I had to do in a store, and I think he was kind of glad I left for a while too, so I wouldn't be doing that. But then eventually I came back. Okay, when I came back, I was supposed to not investigate. Okay, well, I really did tone it down, but I still did a little investigation. And the girls in the store, you know, he was away on his day off.
Right.
The girls in the store we had this little deal, and we said we titled it WWEP.
Right.
Okay, and
I saw that on your notes.
yes.
Yeah.
And WWEP was a situation where they would kind of say, this is a suspicious character. It's a Dr. Cleggett patient, kind of put us on alert, you know, and so on and so forth. And so anyway, what it stands for, if you look at it, it's almost weep. Okay. And so we thought about weeping for those who are in her grasp. Okay. But it also stood for something else. It was the Wicked Witch of the East Project. So that's what I thought about Dr. Cleggett. Okay, now, as far as her sentencing, they probably were going to prosecute her right around a little bit before Katrina hit. And I don't know why it even took that long, because that was about 3 years. But they were getting ready to prosecute her, and they had a lot of good witnesses, and she was healthy. And I'm pretty sure they would have prosecuted. She'd have got 20 years. That's what I was told.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah, and then Katrina hit, and everything blew apart.
Like a lot of other things.
Exactly.
A lot of other things. Yeah.
And then they didn't get back to trying to prosecute again until like 2007, 2008. Wow. By that time, they had trouble gathering witnesses. They had me, and they had some, but they had lost some of that.
Yeah.
Also, she had a bad automobile accident. First off, she went to work for a little while at a Taco Bell as an assistant manager. That's the come down she was at. But then she had this accident, and she was a drug user all the time, so she was kind of messed up from that. And then she had this bad accident, and she was pretty much disabled. So the district attorney, the federal, what was it, Jim Letton?
Right.
Whatever position he was.
Yeah.
They called me, and they really showed me a lot of respect. They called
Jim
me.
Jim Letton is a good man.
Yes. Yeah. And they called me, and I actually didn't speak to him. So one of his assistants, but it was by Jim Letton's direction. They said, "Let's hear Mr. Schneider. Let's tell him what we doing, and what do you think?" And they told me the story, and it was, again, it gets back to bureaucracy and whatnot. But for them to prosecute her was going to cost like $3 to $5 million. Okay, right. And they was pretty sure they could get a conviction, but they didn't have the kind of evidence they once had. And then she also, if they had put her in jail, she'd had some special needs jail that she was going to be in. Okay, so they basically came to the conclusion that it was a waste of money. They could direct it someplace else. They told me that, and basically I agreed. I went along. I wasn't happy, but it just seemed like it was a moot point now, and so I was okay with that. And as long as she could never ever practice medicine, okay, karma got her. Okay, if it wasn't God, it was karma. Okay?
Yeah,
she really destroyed herself.
So when was it after Danny's death that you started noticing all these scripts from her? Or did you notice before that?
Yes. Well, I would say I noticed them before, but I just couldn't deal with it. I was focused on Danny's case, and so it was kind of like a distraction. I knew something was going on, but I wasn't going to dig. I didn't have time to dig. Okay, and then actually, when he finally got the case resolved, it kind of hit me in the face. I said, this is happening right in front of me, and I'm not doing anything about it.
It was powerful during the show when you see was that something they created for the show, the printout with click it.
No, that's one thing that I did. I said, let me see how bad this is.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to correct one thing on it that they said that maybe people didn't notice, so it's not a big deal. But they said like 90% of our prescriptions was Dr. Cleggett. And that's not really true. We had a pretty good business of birth control pills and blood pressure pills.
Sure.
The opiate part of our business might have been 30 or 40%. But Cleggett was 90% of that 30 or 40%.
Unbelievable.
And she was definitely 90% of the OxyContin. Almost nobody else was writing OxyContin. So,
At any point, did you get a sense that she was feeling the heat from you?
oh yes, yeah, most definitely. She caught me. Her goon, I call her goons because they had a forerunner, and he was kind of like a bodyguard or something. And they detected me a couple of times, and they chased me. And that was the same forerunner that I saw at the FBI headquarters. So I was familiar with it.
Now the it just jumped out of my head. Okay, so the policemen that were at her store.
Right.
Okay, were they detailed officers in uniform?
Yes.
So the police department were sending these guys out there. They weren't like guys that she knew a police officer and.
I hope they wasn't sending them out there, but I hope that some kind of way they were faking it, maybe. But
Yeah, because detailed officers, it goes through the department.
well, I don't know if that was the case back then. I do know later
Okay.
they started being restrictive on that. Now I can't remember the details, but I will say something about that. I finally reached Dave McNamara with Channel 4, and he was doing some of this. And so I called him and I said, what about this Dr. Cleggett? He was dealing with some doctor in Slidell who was also bad, okay? And I told him more about Cleggett, which that had kind of escaped him. And when I told him about the police on the porch, he really couldn't believe it. So he, sure enough, he sent their Channel 4 video, and they taped the police on the porch. And then when they broadcast that, they pulled the police off immediately. So,
Okay, well that answers your question.
yes.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you think that pharmacists should have more of a say when dispensing drugs to patients? And how much has PMP done to achieve that? Now, PMP is physicians.
The pharmacy monitoring program.
Okay.
You can detect that they got the prescription filled at another store, okay? And then also the DEA can look at trends, and that is another thing that helps the law enforcement. It's been a big help. It really has. It's curtailed quite a bit, okay? Even though that we have so much overdose deaths, that it curtailed it. Now they seem to be turning to heroin. And the repeat the question again. I got another part of what it is.
Do you think that the pharmacists should have more of a say-so?
Well, actually, pharmacists do have quite a say-so, but they can sometimes have a little pressure from either their company, like it's a chain, or maybe their owner of the store. And even the owner of the store has a little bit of pressure because he's going to run people off, okay? And they're going to go down the street to some easier pharmacy, and they're going to fill it. So it's like, he kind of feels like, well, I'm not accomplishing anything but costing myself money. I still think that's the wrong way to think. You shouldn't be involved in something that bad. But I do understand the complication, and I really believe we got to stop it before the pharmacist stuck in the middle. And I wish we could. We are doing it now. They are starting to shut these bad doctors down, and so I believe we're taking some pressure off the pharmacists. They have quite a bit of say-so. Pharmacists, Dr. Cleggett, she was crazy. She actually tried to sue some pharmacies for not filling the prescriptions. It's really never a case because the pharmacist code says, if you don't feel this is something right, and it's a discretionary thing, you don't have to fill it.
I mean, she seemed like she never was remorseful for anything. It was unbelievable. It really was. That's the thing I was going, this lady's unbelievable.
Right.
That even surprised me.
Yeah.
See, I didn't really get to see her interview at the end, and I would have thought after all this, after everything that went on, some kind of way she'd say, "Well, yeah, I guess I was doing the wrong thing. I didn't know it." I mean, she could have cushioned it a little bit, but she just said, "No, I wasn't doing anything bad."
I hear now she's in a nursing home or something. Is that true, or isn't she in some kind of facility in Michigan or something? Do you know where she's at now?
No, I don't know where she's at now. I think it's Louisiana, but I don't know. But I could probably find out. But I will tell you a funny story. This could be conjecture.
We love funny stories here.
Yeah. Well, she was shortly after we shut her down. She was trying to get her license back, which was probably almost impossible anyway. But she was trying to. So she went into a rehab program. Doctors have a program where they can rehab, and if she gets herself right, then she might have had a shot. Well, they sent her, I think, over to Mandeville at the time. They had a facility there. And when she got there, almost all the people in there were her patients.
Goodness.
And supposedly they ran her ass out of there. They threatened her and everything else. They had to take her out.
It's like going into the lion's den.
Yeah, exactly. Now she deserved it.
One of the most powerful things on the docuseries is your comment, "I hope I did the right thing." You said that. I hope I did the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, we got this heroin crisis.
Well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I know I did the right thing, but it is frustrating when you do something that other things happen. I kind of thought it might happen, but it's happening worse. You know, when we tightened the screws on the prescriptions with the pharmacy monitoring program and starting to arrest doctors and shut doctors down, people who have trouble getting the opiates, they're already addicts, okay? They've been created addicts by doctors and Purdue Pharmaceutical, okay? So they have this tremendous addiction, and now they can't get their, so to speak, meds, and it can go in tremendous withdrawals. And then they can buy cheap heroin on the street, okay? What I have to say about that is I feel a little bit bad about that, but this is what I know, okay? I look at the pharmacies, the doctors and the Purdue and the whole thing of prescriptions. That was like the faucet, okay? And out of the faucet was pouring addicts, okay? And in the bowl, okay, the bowl starts filling up with addicts, okay? And if you don't turn that faucet off, you're constantly creating new addicts. So if we turn that faucet off, there's a chance we can drain the bowl. Now, in all fairness now, it's sad because hopefully we can get these people treatment and some of them can turn it around. But also the reality is if they can't, then they're going to have to die off. But if we keep the faucet on, we're going to have another generation, another generation, another generation. So overall, I did the right thing.
Well, let me give you something that will make you feel like you did the right thing. Okay, now the Bible says that all things work for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I assume you agree with that.
Oh, most definitely. Absolutely. Everything about it. I knew, we had another crazy situation that didn't come out in the docuseries. It did, but not the way it really happened. Okay. We had taken a break, and I was trying to decide whether to really go hog wild to get Dr. Cleggett. And we had just finished my son's case, and my promise to God was I was going to go on a mission, but the mission was supposed to be education, talking in schools. It was not supposed to be another investigation. And my wife, again, if you'd have said another investigation, she said, well, my God, I thought you were supposed to, you did it, so it was crazy. I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it. So we go to the Saints game back then. It was back in, I think, year 2000 or 2001, I believe it was. And they played in Minnesota. Okay, and they got their butts kicked anyway. So, but on the way there, we rode one of a good friend of ours, Debbie. She's in the docuseries, and we rode up there because she had a son that had cancer of the jaw. It was pretty serious. So we dropped off in Chicago. We went to Minnesota. Then we came back to Chicago, picked her up, and then we're riding home, and it's early in the morning, and she's saying she's a kick. My wife and my daughter sleeping in the back seat, and she's saying, I'm saying, Debbie, this doctor's doing this. And I just don't know how much I want to get involved. I know Andy doesn't really want me to. I don't even know if I want to. Okay. And she says, Schneider, you're going to do it. I said, that's easy for you to say. You're not going to pay any price, okay, if I do this, okay? And she says, Schneider, you're going to do it. I said, well, you know what? I tell you what, this isn't an exact bargain that I have with God. And if I'm going to do this, I need a direct sign. Immediately out of the windshield, a cross appeared. And I looked at Debbie and I said, Debbie, do you see what I see? She said, yep, it's not, it's a cross. So then my wife is a little more skeptical than I am. She's sleeping in the back with my daughter. So is my daughter, by the way. Okay. I knew they were going to say that's bullshit, or it doesn't really look like that, or it didn't happen when you asked. Okay. So anyway, we woke her up, and you tell them what you saw.
He asked me, what do you see? And I looked up in the sky, and yeah, I did. I see the same thing that they seen, a cross.
Okay, so it was really, that's, we had a bunch of what I'd call mini miracles or things that could have been coincidence. I didn't see how that could have been a coincidence. I really didn't. She was killing people right and left, and all of a sudden, I asked for a sign, and it appears. It was crazy. So, but let me tell you how dramatic that was. She wasn't really for wanting to investigate Cleggett. Okay. Now, when we were in Minnesota, we bought a brand new movie camera. Okay. Now, some people think I planned to use this on her. Maybe subconsciously I did, but I did. We needed a movie camera, and I wanted to take pictures of the Saint game in the snow and Chicago and whatnot. Okay, so we bought it at the Mall of America's brand new, latest model video camera. So that night, after we seen the cross in the sky, we dropped Debbie off in Mandeville. That's where she lived. We went down to Chalmette. We put my daughter to bed. It's 2:00 in the morning. Me and her went out there, started videoing. But that night after we seen it,
New Orleans East, yeah.
New Orleans
Dr.
East.
Cleggett's office.
So you were in on that stakeout.
Yeah.
yes,
Unbelievable.
yeah. So it just
I was taped
we responded.
recording it.
Look, when he showed me that sign, I said, I better ask, get doing it.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And
I was scared to death.
I bet. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when you in the beginning of the show, I talk about Daniel being a hero, and of course, behind every great man is a great woman, and then we talk about did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Obviously, you did, but I think who and this isn't a question. I'm just going to make a statement. Is the real hero in this is Danny?
Right.
Yes.
None of this happens.
None of this happens
Without Danny.
Unfortunately.
You're right.
And I will say this. I'm not that great of a guy that if I could have him back and we wipe all this other stuff off, which I hate to say it, they say I've saved a lot of lives. I think I did. I wanted my son back, so sure. I didn't want this, but I did try to make the best of a horrible situation, and I knew he would want me to.
Mm-hmm. How was this whole tragedy? And it was a tragedy, aside from losing your son, and wounds that'll never heal. They never really it says in the show, Christmas is never the same. Nothing's ever really the same. And you guys will be in my prayers forever. But how has all this, the whole ordeal, changed your life? Let me start with Annie. How has it changed your life, Annie?
Well, Danny's changed. He's a little bit more energetic, getting up in the morning, trying to.
He's not watching Gunsmoke.
No, always on the phone, talking to somebody, always on the computer, looking up something, reading emails at night to me. Oh, wow. Listen to what these people said. They said I saved their son's life, or, they're asking questions about what can I do with my daughter? She's on drugs, where can I turn to? I want to help. I want to be in your organization. Mm-hmm. It makes us feel good, and I know it makes Christy feel good too, So.
Right.
Hit me with it.
Yeah, my life is totally changed. And she's right about one thing. I used to be a news hog, okay? And I would watch a lot of talking heads on both sides, okay? And almost every night, and it used to drive her crazy, I would watch 3 hours of this. And some of it was just repeated by different talking heads, okay? But I was obsessed to get little crumbs of information about this. Then I'd get up in the morning, I'd read the newspaper. And mainly the section that had the opinions and stuff like that. So now since this, I watch almost no talking heads. Okay, I might watch a little bit of national news. Most of the news I get now is through Facebook, what other people tell me, and then I kind of check it out.
You don't look at the newspaper too much either.
Newspapers, they still in the wrappers now. So
I'll throw them away.
Probably
They're still delivering those. What are they doing?
No.
we could probably cancel.
Yeah,
it
I'm getting ready to.
So that and then you start. It's incredible, because recently I got a phone call, okay, from a guy named Mike Boccicelli.
Nice Italian boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any idea who he is?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, he was Obama's drug czar.
Whoa.
Like I used to try to get some little state senator to maybe open a door for me, and that wasn't easy. I got the drug czar calling me.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, dude, you're the man now. You better use it. Use it while you can.
Yeah.
For real.
I got universities want me to give their commencement address. I got Ireland wants me to go speak in a Catholic cathedral in Ireland, a little town called Derry, which is right above Dublin, Dublin, I believe it is. And then they want me to speak in Italy. Of course, the coronavirus is going to do some of this. And they want me to speak in Australia. They want me to speak in Philippines. I got about 10 occasion speaks around the country. And it's like, I worked for 20 years, okay, and I did those two things, but you don't see a lot of the grunt work I did, which was have a little town hall meeting, or go talk at a little middle school or high school, and I wrote articles to put in a newspaper to educate the public, and it just seemed like, I know I did some good, but it just seemed like really wasn't.
You were spinning your wheels.
It wasn't dramatic. I never did, people have always said, if you save one life. I mean, I like that phrase, but I never thought that way. To me, the price that we had to pay, I had to save more than one life. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And And that's happening. So, now I have this platform, and I got these people that, that are begging to try to listen to me now. And they got open ears and open hearts and open minds, and it's just opened up a floodgate for what I think I can accomplish now.
Take advantage of it.
Well,
Seize the
I'm gonna
moment,
try.
baby. Seize the moment.
Well, that's why I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning now, and going to sleep at 11 o'clock at night.
The days are longer all of a sudden.
Yes.
If you need someone to go to Ireland with you,
And by the way-
I'll volunteer.
By the way, there ain't much TV in there either.
No.
It used to be 6 hours of TV in there.
Are there any things in the docuseries that Netflix didn't cover that you wish they would have?
Well, actually, I mentioned one of them, and I kind of know why they didn't. Okay, I would like them to cover a little bit more how 1201, Danny's poem against the death penalty. I should have brought a copy of it. I don't think I did, but
You know what you can do if you email it to me, I'll get you my email. We'll post it on the website.
I will. But you know what I'll do? I'll try to give you a couple of lines of it. Okay, but
Okay, go.
And even they filmed me reading that.
Okay.
And then they knew the significance, okay? And then they filmed me reading another one of his poems, which is pretty deep itself, but it really didn't have a direct impact on the case. 1201 saved the kid's life, maybe, okay?
Wow.
It structured a lot of what I was going to do. And they chose not to do that. Now, and I think it's because it would have taken them a lot of time to set it up. It wasn't just, you couldn't just throw it in there. You had to explain the significance.
Yeah, you get the case, the case load. Or what is it? The case.
There were so
file.
many things that they were trying to get in. I just don't think they could get that in. So I kind of forgive them, but that hurt because it's a significant poem, and people now are thinking about, is the death penalty the right thing to do? Okay, and I know that's a little controversial, but the truth is, I had a conversation with my son about the death penalty before he wrote that poem. Okay, and he was completely for it and against the death penalty. And I was for it. And so we debated like father and son. Maybe it was an argument, actually, okay? And so finally I said, okay, Danny, you win. I said, they probably shouldn't be a death penalty because you know what? It takes like 13 years, okay? Spend fortunes of dollars, okay? The people in the neighborhood where he killed somebody, most of them are dead or moved. I said, it has no deterrent effect, okay? So I told him, I said, you know what the problem is, Danny? They ain't killing them fast enough. Well, he got pissed off about that.
Sure.
Okay.
It sounds like he would have.
Well, I mean, he had a different take. I mean, to me, it was a mechanical thing, or maybe that's not the right word, but if you could get a result, it was okay taking their lives. Okay. He had this intrinsic nature about himself that we didn't have the right to take anybody's life, no matter what. Okay, unless it was self-defense.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And it isn't self-defense anymore. I mean, the Catholic religion now says no death penalty because they used to couldn't lock people up and secure them. Now they can. Now I know there's the rare breakout and all this other crap, but generally speaking, you put them away, they're never going to kill again. Okay, as long as it's put away and can't get out. Okay?
Yeah.
So 1201 was just, I even asked Danny. I said this. I said, Danny, if your mom or your sister were killed, you wouldn't want the death penalty? No way.
Wow.
Now I'll just give you just a little bit. I'm not going to be able. I used to have it memorized, but I don't quite anymore. But I can give you a couple lines.
Okay, great.
Okay, so it's 12:01 a.m. is the title. Okay, number one, Danny died at 12:08 a.m. Well, excuse me, he was pronounced dead at 12:08 a.m. He died before that. Okay, now was it 10 minutes before, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before? I don't know. Okay, but he might have died at 12:01. It's damn close. Okay, so in any event, he wrote the poem, and it starts off, wrong turn. It's like a mystery story. Just right there. It's been a mystery story, and there was a wrong turn. And it was, I read this to Jeffrey one time, and he said Danny took a wrong turn. Well, Danny actually did, okay? But Danny's wrong turn was to buy a drug. He was addicted, apparently, okay? And he had to have this drug, right? Jeffrey's wrong turn was killing somebody. Okay, so, but it does apply to both, sort of. Okay,
Yeah,
wrong
it does,
turn.
yeah.
And then life burns. Well, Danny's dead. He had fire shot into his head. Okay, and Jeffrey's life is, not too good either. So, and then it's crazy, but then he says something about, as Stephen King writes down his words of glory, critics rave, the body of a killer would be placed in his long-awaited grave. The parents of the victims paid a high price of admission to watch his pain. Their satisfaction is guaranteed, so everyone claims. A flip of the switch in the dark of the night, a life taken for spite. The light turns dark, new killers are born. And then it finishes with this, but this is really a blockbuster movie, isn't it? Or is it?
It's like a clairvoyant poem.
It's crazy.
High school he wrote that when he was
Yeah.
junior.
I mean, if you don't, it's like you said, it looks like God was all over this thing. It really does.
Yeah, I think so.
How's Christy doing? I know you got 2 grandkids now, and she's doing well.
She's still got her bad days, and with the docu-series coming out and everything, it's all coming back to, and
Right.
she's
How
still
old was she then? She was what?
18.
18.
Yeah, and they were so close. They had a lot of friends together and everything.
They
so.
didn't really fight much like I fought with my sister. Okay, I'm not saying they never had a fight, but they were really close. And Christy was shy back then, and Danny was fairly shy, but the girls pulled him into the social life. Okay, and then he became friends with a bunch of people. So Christy's whole social life was based upon Danny's social life. So when she lost her brother, she also lost her social life and most of her friends.
Yeah, it said in the show that all of her girlfriends used to love Danny.
Yeah,
They
a lot
did.
of them did.
Absolutely.
She'd get mad at that.
Oh, yeah, she was. One of her girlfriends actually started going out with him, and she was pissed off. You stole my girlfriend.
That was good for Danny, though.
Yeah, you lose a friend.
For Danny.
Oh, man.
Tell me about Tunnel of Hope.
That's another really, really interesting story. We shortly, it's crazy, but the day that Jeffrey was sentenced, we came home, and my answer machine was beeping. And I answered it, and it was Danny's English teacher. The English teacher he had when he wrote 401. That English teacher put it in a binder together with a bunch of other good poems called the Hen and Hawk. So it was recognized as being one of the better poems from his class. And so I had told him early on, I said, at some point in time, I want to try to do something to educate kids. So now he has no idea what's going on. We just left the courthouse. Kid goes away in handcuffs. He's going to go away for 15 years, but 13 and a half minimum. And so he says, well, I don't know what's going on with the case, he said, but we have a Red Ribbon Week, and it's like maybe 10 days from now. And he said, if you're not ready, you can just come and sit in. If you're ready, we'd like you to speak. And again, it was just almost like the Cleggett thing. It was kind of like, well, wait a second, I was supposed to get a break here, okay? And it's almost like God saying,
dropping
it's
it
almost
right in
like,
your lap.
It's dropped in my lap. So I kind of told him, I said, well, I'm not sure. I got to think about this, And so I prayed on it. I think I talked with my wife about it. And of course, sometimes I didn't talk to her because she would have told me no. But then
You wound up talking anyway.
so anyway, the next day I called him back and said, yeah, okay. And I gave this great talk at Haddon, and they videotaped it, and they say it was the best talk that I ever had. We had Danny's picture there. We had one of his friends, his sister was there. It was great. Well, anyway, we leave and we go to Walmart, okay? And we in Walmart, and she's buying a frame for a picture that we had. It was one of the last pictures that we had for Christmas. And it was a picture in the Roosevelt Hotel with that halo of lights, okay? Notice the halo, okay? And my son and his girlfriend and my wife, and we were all in this picture, and there's this halo. Well, it didn't really quite hit me, okay? But I think subconsciously it did. And then, so people come up to her and say, geez, you did such a great job. So she picks this frame out. It's kind of crazy. She had to do this, I guess, consciously, but I don't know. She picks this frame up, and it's circled with writings like, one person can make a difference. Nothing's impossible without God. It's got all these motivational things, and she puts that picture in that frame, and we put it on a table or something, and it just kind of. So anyway, then now I'm going on this mission now. At that point, not to shut doctors down, the educational mission, so to teach parents and teach kids about drugs and whatnot. And so then every day I go to work, I'm trying to think, what am I going to name this thing? Okay, and so every day I go to work, I'll go through these trees on Highway 39, and it's there's a bunch of oak trees in a line, and it kind of closes off. And it kind of like hit me. I said, these problems we have is like a dark tunnel, okay? But there's light at the end of every tunnel, and that light is hope, okay?
Right.
And so even like when my son's poem, when he said, the light is gone, new killers are born, the day turns black, and so it just was natural. And so we started with Tunnel Hope and have carried it forth ever since.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but this calling that you have, this path that God's got you on, this might be a ride you're not going to be able to get off of for a while.
Yeah, I know. She's worried about that. And I've promised now, because I've been obsessed about a lot along the way, and I've kind of promised her that I'm going to throttle this, and I hope I can. Okay, and maybe I can, because right now the grandkids are staying with us, and they'll come up to Grandpa and say, "You're on the phone all the time, Grandpa." Okay, which I am. Okay, and so then all of a sudden I put the phone down, and I go in the backyard and put them on the swing.
Yeah.
And so they bring me back to reality, and so I'm going to do my best. But it is time to make hay too, so I'm gonna have to push.
Yeah, and I think you're the man for the job. I mean, I think that you're the perfect man for the job. So any regrets, anything you would have done differently? And then don't pull any punches.
Yeah. I wish I could have figured out that my son was doing the drugs. Okay, the only thing we'd ever known was marijuana. Okay, but obviously in hindsight, after there were some signs, and he kind of misled me a little bit too. I asked him even if he was doing drugs, because he'd done a few things that bothered us that seemed unusual, and he told me, he said, "No, I'm depressed." So I treated it. I was relieved when he said that. Okay. The other crazy thing he'd said was, I said, "Well, son, are you suicidal?" He said, "No." And he said some great things. He said, "Dad," he says, "I got great parents. I got a great life. I got a new truck." And that was a gift too, for him to say that. And this is shortly before he dies. Okay. And he also told me, "I'm depressed because I don't know what I want to be." Okay. And so I told him, he was thinking about being an architect. He was thinking about being a weatherman, so on and so forth. And so I told him, I said, "Look, take some pressure off." I said, "Look, I don't care if you be a driver for a truck or something, or you milkman, or you just any, just make a decent living. I'm fine with that." I said, "So why don't you choose drafting, okay, instead of just thinking architecture? And if worst comes to worst, you're a drafter. They make a pretty good income." And so that seemed to relieve him. And actually, he came downstairs like maybe the next night or something. This is only a couple of days before he dies. He comes down like the next night, and he tells us, he said, "Dad, I think you're right. I'm going to focus on just drafting, one little step at a time." Okay. And of course, now we now know in the background he's doing drugs, so he's kind of in trouble. But I didn't know that, and I feel relieved, and he seems to be relieved. A bunch of things he did was like things he had. He went and got his contact lenses that have been bugging him for 3 months to go do. He always bugged him to cut the grass. He went and cut the grass without us asking. Okay. So the other thing he tells me, he says, "Dad," he says, "I said I want to be a draftsman." He says, "But I'd like to do some part-time writing." And later we found all of his writings, and with great wisdom. And he says, "There's something else I'd like to do." He said, "I'd like to try to encourage kids not to try drugs." And when he said that, I said, "This kid gets it. Daddy's been telling him that." But we now know, and it's sadly, is he had in his mind that, "Daddy, you warned me and I'm trapped." I regret that he didn't feel like he could
Tell us.
Right.
Okay. And so I think that's another message to parents, okay, to make sure they know that you can tell them. And I think he should have known that. Okay. Obviously, I got mad, but, God, we would have worked with the kid.
You have to tell your parents how you feel.
Yeah.
Right. And also friends. We got another little concept we got out of this. He had a bunch of friends that knew he was doing this. And when everybody says, yeah, okay, well, most of them wasn't doing the crack, though, okay? And then going to the Ninth Ward to buy it, okay, it's crazy, So at the funeral, some of these kids said, "Miss Danny, we'd like to carry his coffin." At that time, I didn't know exactly who knew, who didn't do it. Later on, I would find out, get graveside confessions and whatnot, learned about his drug use and whatnot. And so I thought about it, and then I said, no. I said, I got family members. And I let one kid carry his coffin, and this was a kid that came to us one time and said, Danny's smoking pot, but he seems to be doing it a lot. He seems to be wasted a little bit. So I really appreciate that. And we approached Danny. We had a little intervention about it and whatnot, okay? Well, now I think, we got 5 family members. You need 6. So I asked that kid. Well, a couple of days later, we up in my game room where they used to play pool with all of his friends, and I'm grilling them. What the hell did y'all know? What the hell? How did this happen? What was he doing? How long was he doing it? Okay. And one of the kids says, Mr. Danny, how come you didn't let us carry the coffin? I said, you guys carried the coffin before he died. And so the message that I got there, and look, my son would have probably not said anything either. Okay, so, that's one thing I'd like to change. I'd really like to change that it's the right thing to do. The concept is friends care, don't cover. Friends care, don't cover.
That's good.
And I want to get that into educational minds. And, if we can only get 10% of the kids to think that way, even the good kids that don't do drugs, they usually know who is. They also know who's selling it. Okay, and these good kids say, well, I'm not going to do it. But they say, but I ain't saying nothing. We could unravel this thing. The kids know more than the cops do. The bus driver knows more than the cops. The kids on the bus. The kids on the bus.
Just by having a simple dialogue, you can
let me just
leapfrog a lot of those issues.
The simple thing is, you got to. We'll say this. That, you can get shunned a little bit if you're so-called rat. Okay, but there's anonymous ways of doing it. Okay, these kids could have dropped a note in my box, in my mailbox. Hey, I hate to tell you this, but Danny's doing crack and he's going in the 9th ward. Now, maybe some parents would have said, well, that's bullshit. I'd have found out.
We know now you would have.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
would investigate.
Yeah,
We
that's
know
for
now.
sure.
Right. So that's another issue.
What about when Danny Mardi Gras moves out?
Oh, boy. Jesus, and that's another story. Jesus. God is all over this thing, okay? So anyway, we go to Mardi Gras. He dies in April. Mardi Gras in March. We go out with his girlfriend and whatnot. And, hey, we typical New Orleans people. I go up there to see the sights, as you might say. And we go there early in the morning, and we really don't want to catch the parade so much. We're going to come back early. So we go up there, and we're walking through the French Quarter, seeing some sights. And, they got these guys carrying crosses in there.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, I'm pretty tolerant, and so I don't really ridicule these guys, okay? But I kind of think to myself, what the heck are they doing out here?
Yeah.
So in any event, I get a little bit in front of Danny, and Danny falls back, and everybody, it was just Danny by himself. He gets caught by one of these guys.
Okay.
And he stops to talk to the guy, okay? And I'm kind of overhearing it and watching it, catching some of the words, because maybe he's here, maybe he's 20 feet away, okay? And so
y'all are in the quarter, because this happens in the quarter,
yeah,
right?
it's right in the French Quarter, right in front of St. Louis Cathedral. I think that is where we catch it. Or it might have been Bourbon, okay? But anyway, so anyway, he catches Danny, and I see him talking. In fact, it turns into a little bit of an argument, not a nasty argument, okay, but kind of like this guy says this, and Danny says, but this, and, that kind of thing. And then at the end, the guy says, brother, will you pray with me? And they said the sinner's prayer together.
Okay.
Now, the minute Danny died, now, you should remember now, when I saw that, I didn't make too much of it. Danny was that kind of kid. He would be polite. Okay? Probably didn't agree with the guy, probably thought the guy was weird, okay? I don't know why he said this. Maybe just to make the guy feel good, okay? But after your kid dies, too, you say, well, geez, if he was doing something wrong, did he go to heaven? Okay. And the truth is, the Catholics don't say this so much, but most people say that if you say the sinner's prayer, which is, I believe in Jesus and please forgive me my sins and, I'm going to change my life, okay? That's your ticket to heaven, okay? I got to see that. Mm-hmm. How did I get to see that? Also, I now know the purpose of those guys.
And?
They may be exactly there for that.
Saving people.
You got to understand.
Oh, no, that's why they're there. They're there to plant seeds. And
well, I know, but not everybody dies within 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, and the fact that some kind of way they attracted my son, and he said that, it's I don't know, it's just part of this crazy, almost divine type of thing. It is almost a method to this thing. You know?
God did it.
And all that has motivated me. It is because I just feel like something's going on here. I've been called. Okay, maybe unfortunately my son's been called. Now I don't believe God said, "Okay, I'm gonna kill Danny." Okay, so that you can go do all these great things, but I think He gave me the strength, and He let me see things like that. Let me see the good in Danny, the fact that he was, you might say, almost innocent. Okay, I just feel like that's what I had to do.
Well, what did God do to reconcile people to Him? He gave His what?
His only son. Oh, I know, and I don't like to quite make those analogies because I'm not in I'm not in that league. Okay,
no, I know it's not your league, but it's true.
No,
I was thinking about Abraham and Isaac and that kind of story, and I mean the payoff from it. Essentially, I mean you can kind of correlate the two stories, together.
Absolutely, but the truth is, I've been getting hundreds, if not thousands, of comments. Yeah. There's been a few comments that have said that.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it.
That have referred to Jesus. I guess I'm flattered, but I don't want it to go to that extreme. I mean, there's no comparison.
Well, you can rest assured on this podcast, none of that will be cut out.
Okay, good.
None of it will be cut out.
Well, you might say this. I wanted a little bit more God in that docuseries than we got. Now, we did get some.
Definitely.
We got some, okay? Mm-hmm. But I wanted a little bit more. But in all fairness, I know the game. If they make it too religious, then you turn some people off. Not everybody feels the way Christians do or believers do, okay? And so I think they struck a pretty good balance. But now that I got this, in fact, they told me this, and they were dead right. I didn't buy it completely. I said, yeah, but man, I want this thing to send messages. One message, believe. Okay? Mm-hmm. And they said, well, look, you'll have a chance after. You'll have a platform after. And I got to go, yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I got a platform.
That's
okay.
Cool.
So they were dead right, and everybody loved it. Atheists loved it. Christians love it. Jews love it. Everybody. I have had calls from India. Okay? Wow. India. I've had calls from Saudi Arabia. I've had calls from... Australia? No,
Philippines.
They're weird. Egypt, Cairo, Egypt. Have calls. Cairo, Egypt. Israel. It's crazy. So I don't know. There's been times when I thought after Danny died that maybe this story is so powerful, or maybe God is directing this, and maybe I can really make a significant difference. And then I kind of thought I couldn't. Because I wasn't making much ground. Now it looks like maybe I can. Maybe that dream is possible. It would really be neat 3 years from now to look back and maybe we got 50% of the problem and me and Danny had something to do with it. Mm-hmm. And of course, now understand, I don't want to take that much credit. The only way that we're going to do this, maybe one guy gets it started, okay? A lot of people got to jump on the bandwagon. We're not going to do this by ourselves.
We need the people
but I have
support.
the platform for people to listen now. Mm-hmm.
Well, you have our help, and anytime you want to come on the show, you're welcome. And I'd like to do a follow-up at some point.
I appreciate that.
Let you know how things are going.
Yes.
We didn't get into Purdue Pharma, but they got what they had coming to them. Okay? Well, congratulations on taking them scumbags down. I mean, the part in the docuseries about that salesman talking about,
that was remarkable.
I mean, it's everything comes down to money.
He was great. Oh yeah,
he was great. He was really good.
This is really one point that I want to try to finish up with. Okay, people say, "What's the next step?" Okay, and the next step is this. Okay, yes, I want to do the education thing, and yes, I hope the police get on a stick and start shutting doctors down, and they start showing respect to kids that die from drugs. Mm-hmm. Remove that stigma, and that there's more treatment. More resources directed to this. But what I also want to do is I want to develop what I'm going to call a people's lobby, okay? Which means if I get a bunch of people to join this thing, I mean, some of them are going to be active, some will be volunteers, some will just give donations, some of them are going to pray, okay? But a lot of them are just going to give me their name and their email. And if I can amass like 1 million of these people, okay, and I think big, okay, and then all of a sudden, company like Purdue wants to try to lessen the law so that they can push one of their crappy things ahead, I'll be at that table. And and I won't be able to give the congressman or the senator the money that Purdue can give, okay? But I can tell the senator, I said, well, you know what? I got a voice here too. We're not going to give you any money, but I got 1 million people that if I send an email to these 1 million people, okay, they can make your life miserable. If I ask them, a lot of these are parents that lost kids. If I ask them to have demonstrations throughout the country, we'll do it. And I don't know if that's going to change things or not, but there's another side. Who is representing us?
Exactly.
So,
I want to be in your group. Okay?
amen.
And right now this is kind of timely because of the coronavirus. And if you take a look at all the people that died from opioid overdoses and compare that with the people that are going to die from this coronavirus, there's no comparison. The government, corporate America is doing nothing.
You're right.
And so
It's all about money.
blessings on you. I think something's going to get done. I think you're the right man for the job. Okay,
I know you're wrapping
persona.
up. I always say one more thing. Okay,
No, I'm not wrapping up. Go ahead.
Okay, but no, I want you to wrap up. We got to move on. Okay, I got another appointment to go.
Yeah, I bet you do.
But I'm going to say one other thing. This is not a coincidence either. When I've almost never had a lawyer, but when I started signing the contracts with Cinemark and Netflix, you got to get a lawyer. So I look up an entertainment lawyer and I stumble upon this lady named Suzette Toledano. Her office happens to be on the top of the House of Blues.
There you go.
Kind of
Love it.
strange. Cool though.
Yeah.
Love
yeah.
it. Love it.
So in any event, she really gets into it. She buys the story, and of course, she still charges me, but a reasonable rate, okay? But she really goes to work, and she helps us solidify this thing, and I think she's got us protected. And you could tell she just cared. And she said, "Boy, when this thing comes out, let me know." Well, I kind of forgot about it. A year and a half goes by that they're working on this thing, and it breaks, and it's early on. It's maybe 5 days after it breaks, and things are looking good. We're starting to hear a few things, but I still didn't know that it was going to be total blow up. So we laying in bed. It's 10:30 at night, and the phone rings. It's Suzette. Annie, you can't believe this thing. It's unbelievable. All my friends are talking. And he says, I even talked to somebody out of state. They know about it. And I'm so proud of you. And geez, did you think it would be this big? And I said, well, no. He says, look, she says, guess what? You think that's good? I got something else for you that's great. I said, what? She says, I just signed Miss America. I represent Miss America. I said, so? Miss America is a pharmacy student. Her platform is opiates.
Dude, that's awesome.
Wow.
So we're going to get together with Miss America.
Cool.
Okay, now how the hell does that happen? Okay.
If you need a studio, you can bring her over here.
She went
Yeah.
she went to VCU, which is Virginia Commonwealth.
Right,
okay,
right.
She's Miss Virginia. Okay, that college calls me up to give the commencement speech.
Wow.
This weekend, I met with some Democratic friends, and this weekend I'm going to meet with some Republican friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and who do they have there? Mark Warner.
Oh, really?
He's from Virginia.
Yeah.
He's a senator. I mean, like bing, bing, bing. So hey, what are the chances that you're going to have a pharmacy student win Miss America, and that she's going to have
Same
that
year
platform?
you.
Same year this thing breaks.
Everything just falling in line for
Yeah,
us.
it really is. The stars are aligning.
It's crazy. I will say this. Along the way, though, a lot of this times, I thought God was on my side. But boy, it was hard. And so I would many times say, okay, God, yeah, you're helping me out every day. Why are you making this hard? Why don't you just let it happen? What's crazy now is it's almost like he's laying stones. Mm-hmm. And, maybe we'll get a little setback there, okay? But right now, it's just going smooth. It's like he wants us to make a difference, and he wants us to do it pretty fast. 130 a day are dying.
Jeez.
500,000 have died since my son died.
Take that, coronavirus.
Yes.
All right, now you mentioned the lawyer and everything. We're going to wrap up here. Who are some of the people that you'd like to thank that didn't really get recognition? Just give me some names, because this is,
Yes.
this is something that's never going to go away. When we put now this is going to go up on YouTube, but then we're going to have the full show, the 2-part series. It's going to be produced. It's going to be all, it's going to be
I got
flashy.
you.
It's going to be all flashy. and
I'm glad
professional.
you did that, because I haven't had a chance. They look at me as like some superhero that did this all by myself. Nobody ever does it by himself, okay? In the Ninth Ward, I had some bad cops, really bad cops, horrible. That's another big story. But in any event, I also had some blacks in that community that stepped up. Surprisingly, as bad as that community is, The witness stepped up. The church went out and walked the streets with me. So, that's one. I like to thank those people. One of them is Reverend Reed, particularly.
Yeah.
That's the guy that actually
Yeah, I
walked the
saw
streets
him,
with
yeah.
me. Okay, but there's a lot of unknown people that I can't name that helped out. Then I'd like to thank, of course, my family, for sticking with me in that. And then obviously I got to thank God, okay, because none of this would have happened. And the other thing,
Shane.
Shane, the witness. Excuse me, Shane Madding, the witness. We have a GoFundMe account for her right now.
Oh, really? I'd like to.
Shane
Okay, I want to know about that.
Madding, GoFundMe.
Okay,
So in any event, also what I want to think is, in St. Bernard, I got little help from New Orleans, although there were a few good cops there too, okay? And at times they helped a little bit, okay? But St. Bernard helped as much as they could, even if it was out of their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some things they did help me a little bit with that case, but they also helped me a little bit with the Dr. Cleggett case.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Stevens authorized me and a good friend of mine, who was a captain on the force, to actually go out and use this truck that they have that has different cameras. And one time we actually used the St. Bernard truck to videotape because Jack wanted me to get it to the FBI. He wasn't going to give it to the FBI. He thought it would be more credible coming from me. But I had security. And usually I wouldn't go behind the building because if you go behind the building, you could get trapped, okay? But we went behind the building because my buddy was a cop and he had a gun, okay, and had this big massive SUV. So Jimmy Pullman is a person to thank. Jack Stevens a person to thank. A guy named Chad Clark is a guy to thank. And then the prosecutor for the medical board is a guy named George Papali. George was a tremendous guy that worked hard. And I know I'm Robbie Termini.
Oh, Robbie.
Robbie.
We didn't talk about
role.
Robbie. Yeah, Robbie was something.
Yeah, he was. And the kid has had some problems in the past, and maybe even still isn't the most perfect person. But he bought into this thing. Mm-hmm. And one thing he did for me was, everybody thinks he was this great investigator with me, which he was to some extent. But what he really was, for some reason or other, when I would talk to Andy about this or anybody, and I was in this animated state, I couldn't relate to them, okay? And Robbie could relate to me. It was like you thought you were crazy. Like, nobody sees this, okay? And Robbie would say, you're right. It's not bad, Danny, okay? You're not crazy, okay? And so bouncing it off somebody and maybe because he was in that world a little bit.
Yeah.
No, he did. And can we forget anybody? Naturally, my daughter, you.
Of course, yep.
Anybody else?
Damn.
I'm sorry if I forgot somebody, but any of that, we had help.
Well, the sponsor of our podcast is a company called Coin Trader Inc. All right, it's a precious metals and rare coin firm, and on behalf of them, they want to make $1,000 donation to Tunnel of Hope.
I appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
We're going to do that. So you leave our studio with a valuable prize. We'd like to give away valuable prizes
From our favorite sponsor.
I want to thank you, Nick, our executive producer, for helping me for this. And this is
Thank you.
This is a blessing, honestly.
This has
Yeah.
been a complete honor
Yeah.
to have you here. I mean, and Annie, God bless you. You're going to be in our praise. Dan, you are the man. I mean, God chose the right person.
Well, the DelGiorno name is a pretty good name. And,
well, thank you.
And your dad was a great guy. So it's fitting that we're talking right now. And I think together we're going to accomplish it.
I'm with you. Anything you need from me. The New Orleans DelGiornos, we want to be here to help. So thanks a lot. If you or anyone you know has an opioid addiction, please contact tunnelofhope.org and get yourself some help. God bless you, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know. I probably. What did you just say? Which organization you said?
Tunnelofhope.org.
Okay, great. Oh, that's great. Great. That's, I missed that. I guess.
I was looking at the website. I know it's still kind of under construction.
Yeah, it is.
You may want to have some.
As the money comes in and I get myself settled, I got that for free, and it was a miracle that I got that.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
just-
said, it's
just
all
wanna
time and having the time to do it.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
just want to have a tab on there that they can click on for like rehab organizations.
Oh,
and
right.
stuff like
Okay,
that,
yeah.
So they know where to go.
Right, and we developing that too. See, I've got to develop a few more resources.
Cool.
One of the real simple resources is a group called Partnership for Drug Free America. It's drugfree.org.